Imagine a world over 2,500 years ago where a single man's journey of self-discovery would change the course of spiritual history forever. This man was Siddhartha Gautama, a prince born into luxury who became known as the Buddha. His teachings have transcended time, inspiring millions across cultures and generations to seek a deeper understanding of life, suffering, and enlightenment. Chapter 1. Introduction to the Life of Buddha. Born in the foothills of the Himalayas, in what is now Nepal, Siddhartha's life began in extraordinary circumstances. Legend has it that his mother, Queen Maya, dreamt of a radiant white elephant entering her womb, a sign that she would give birth to a child destined for greatness. At birth, sages prophesied that Siddhartha would either become a mighty king or a wise spiritual leader who would guide humanity. But as a young boy, Siddhartha's world was confined to the pleasures of royal life. His father, King Suddhodana, shielded him from the harsh realities of the world, hoping to steer him toward the path of power and kingship. Surrounded by wealth, beauty, and comfort, Siddhartha lived in an illusion of perpetual happiness, unaware of the pain and suffering that existed beyond the palace walls. Yet even from a young age, Siddhartha was deeply contemplative. His curiosity about the true nature of life would set the foundation for his spiritual quest. This initial chapter of his life represents the duality of human existence, the pursuit of material wealth versus the quest for spiritual truth. And it is in this duality that Siddhartha would later find his purpose. As we journey through his life, we'll uncover the transformation from a sheltered prince to a revered sage who would abandon the material world to seek the answers to life's deepest mysteries. Chapter 2. The Early Life of Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha Gautama was born into the Kingdom of Kapilavastu, a prosperous region nestled in the heart of the Himalayas. His arrival was marked by auspicious signs, setting the stage for a life that would soon transcend royal privilege. The story goes that on the night of his birth, Queen Maya experienced a profound dream. A majestic white elephant entered her womb, foreshadowing the birth of a child destined for greatness. This child, Siddhartha, would become a pivotal figure in the spiritual landscape of humanity. From the very beginning, Siddhartha's life was steeped in luxury. As the son of King Suddhodana, he was surrounded by opulence and comfort, with servants catering to his every need. The palace was a vast sanctuary, filled with lush gardens, exquisite architecture, and all the delights one could imagine. Yet, even amid this grandeur, a prophecy loomed over his future. He was foretold to either become a mighty ruler or a spiritual leader who would illuminate the path for others. King Suddhodana, eager to see his son follow the path of kingship, took drastic measures to shield Siddhartha from the harsh realities of life. He surrounded him with beauty and ensured that only joy and pleasure graced his existence. This protective environment, while well-intentioned, created a cocoon that isolated Siddhartha from understanding the deeper truths of life. As Siddhartha grew, he was adorned with the finest clothing and lavished with the best of everything. Yet an inexplicable emptiness lingered in his heart. He was a young prince, yet his spirit longed for something more profound than mere wealth and comfort. The opulence that surrounded him felt increasingly hollow, hinting at an awakening that would eventually unfold. This era of Siddhartha's life illustrates the delicate balance between privilege and ignorance. It serves as a reminder that true understanding often lies beyond material wealth. Siddhartha's early years, though cloaked in luxury, were the prelude to a transformative journey, a journey that would lead him to confront the very essence of existence, suffering, and the quest for enlightenment. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and brings you more insights on history and spirituality. Chapter 3. The Foresights, the Turning Point. As Siddhartha Gautama matured, the protective walls of the palace could no longer contain the questions brewing within him. At the age of 29, he was permitted to venture outside, and this marked a profound turning point in his life. During these excursions, he experienced what would come to be known as the Four Sights, 4 encounters that would forever alter his understanding of existence and ignite a spiritual awakening. His first sight was that of an elderly man. Siddhartha had never witnessed old age before. It was a shocking revelation. The frailty and vulnerability of the man stirred deep feelings within him. He realized that age was an inevitable part of life, something he could no longer ignore. This encounter shattered the illusion of eternal youth and beauty that had surrounded him in the palace. The second sight was of a person suffering from a grave illness. Siddhartha felt an overwhelming sense of compassion and sorrow. The suffering of this individual resonated within him, compelling him to confront the harsh reality of sickness. In that moment, he understood that physical pain could strike anyone, regardless of wealth or status. This realization deepened his internal conflict and fueled his desire to seek answers about suffering. Next, Siddhartha encountered a corpse, a sight that was both haunting and profound. Witnessing death for the first time forced him to confront the transience of life. He recognized that no one, not even the richest or most powerful, could escape death. This understanding ignited a sense of urgency within him, a yearning to comprehend the meaning of existence and the suffering that accompanied it. Finally, Siddhartha saw an ascetic, a man who had renounced worldly pleasures in pursuit of spiritual liberation. The ascetic's serenity and dedication sparked curiosity in Siddhartha's heart. Here was a man who had chosen a path of hardship, deliberately distancing himself from the comforts of life in search of deeper truth. This encounter illuminated a new possibility for Siddhartha, a path that sought enlightenment through self-discipline and reflection. These four sights served as a catalyst for Siddhartha's transformation. They instigated an emotional and spiritual awakening that led him to question the very fabric of life's pleasures and pains. The sheltered life he had lived until that point was now eclipsed by the stark reality of human existence. Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, Siddhartha resolved to leave his luxurious life behind and embark on a quest for understanding, one that would take him far beyond the palace walls. Chapter 4. The Great Renunciation. In the quiet depths of his heart, Siddhartha Gautama felt a tumultuous storm brewing, spurred by the profound revelations he had encountered. The four sights ignited an unquenchable thirst for truth, compelling him to confront the illusions of his privileged life. One fateful night, under the cloak of darkness, Siddhartha made a life-altering decision. He would leave the comforts of his palace, his family, and the trappings of wealth behind. This moment would be known as the Great Renunciation. With a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Siddhartha quietly bid farewell to his sleeping wife, Yasodhara, and his infant son, Rahula. He knew that in his pursuit of enlightenment he must sever the bonds of attachment that tethered him to worldly desires. As he rode out of the palace on horseback, the shimmering gates of Kapilavastu became a symbol of the life he was leaving behind, a life of luxury, power, and security that now felt hollow in light of the suffering he had witnessed. Siddhartha's journey into the unknown began in earnest as he sought answers to life's most pressing questions. He ventured into the wilderness, where the noise of the world faded into a profound silence, and the complexities of life surrendered to the whispers of nature. He sought out teachers and ascetics, absorbing their wisdom and techniques, but he found that even their teachings fell short of the enlightenment he craved. Embracing the path of an ascetic, Siddhartha subjected himself to extreme self-denial, enduring rigorous fasting and relentless meditation. He believed that by denying the body he could free his mind and spirit. Yet as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Siddhartha found himself growing weaker and more despondent. The physical suffering he imposed upon himself began to overshadow the spiritual clarity he sought. Chapter 5. The Quest for Enlightenment. Siddhartha Gautama's quest for enlightenment took him deep into the heart of asceticism. For years he devoted himself to a life of extreme self-denial, believing that by stripping away all earthly comforts, he could uncover the truths of existence. His days were filled with rigorous fasting and nights spent in meditation, pushing the boundaries of human endurance. Yet, as time passed, he began to realize that this path of harsh austerity was leading him further away from the liberation he sought. Each day he grew weaker and more emaciated, his body a mere shadow of its former self. Siddhartha often found himself pondering, could suffering truly bring about enlightenment? The teachings he had encountered and the practices he engaged in felt like a double-edged sword, leaving him more lost than enlightened. In the silence of his meditation, a profound revelation began to dawn on him. Extreme asceticism was not the answer. It was during a moment of clarity, as he sat beneath the vast expanse of the sky, that Siddhartha conceived the idea of the middle way. This concept represented a balanced approach to life, rejecting both indulgence and excessive self-denial. He realized that to attain true understanding, one must navigate a path that honors the body while still seeking spiritual depth. The middle way emphasized moderation, recognizing that while ascetic practices could lead to insights, they must be grounded in the realities of human experience. With this newfound understanding, Siddhartha began to nourish his body again, rejecting the extremes that had held him captive. He sought to embrace a harmonious existence, blending the lessons learned from indulgence and self-denial. This pivotal moment marked a turning point in his journey, setting him on a path towards the enlightenment he so desperately sought. Chapter 6. The Bodhi Tree and Siddhartha's Enlightenment. In the serene land of Bodh Gaya, Siddhartha Gautama found himself drawn to the revered Bodhi Tree, a sacred fig that would become the backdrop for his ultimate transformation. Determined to achieve enlightenment, he settled beneath its sprawling branches, vowing not to rise until he uncovered the truth that had eluded him for so long. The air was thick with anticipation as he entered a deep state of meditation, focused on the stillness within. However, Siddhartha's path to enlightenment was not without its challenges. The malevolent deity Mara, the god of desire, sensed the awakening power within Siddhartha and sought to distract him from his quest. Mara unleashed a torrent of temptations, visions of beautiful women, seductive pleasures, and the whisper of doubts that echoed in Siddhartha's mind. Each temptation was designed to pull him away from his goal, to make him question his worthiness of enlightenment. Siddhartha faced these challenges with unwavering resolve. He remained rooted in his meditation, acknowledging Mara's illusions but refusing to be swayed by them. With every attempt by Mara to divert him, Siddhartha deepened his focus, connecting more profoundly with the essence of his being. The battle raged on, both within and around him, but Siddhartha knew that true enlightenment lay beyond the clutches of desire. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Siddhartha broke through the barriers of illusion. In a moment of profound clarity, he grasped the interconnectedness of all beings and the nature of suffering. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Siddhartha achieved enlightenment, transforming from a seeker into the Buddha, meaning the awakened one. This pivotal moment not only marked the culmination of his journey, but also set the stage for the teachings he would share with the world. Chapter 7. The First Sermon. The Dharma wheel begins to turn. After attaining enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha, now the Buddha, knew he had discovered a profound truth about the nature of suffering and the path to liberation. But he also knew that sharing this truth would not be easy. His newfound wisdom was deep and complex, and the world was steeped in ignorance. Yet, driven by compassion, Buddha decided to spread his teachings to guide others toward the same awakening. He made his way to the deer park in Sarnath, near Varanasi, where he would deliver his first sermon to 5 ascetics who had once been his companions. The atmosphere was calm, the landscape peaceful as Buddha began to speak, unveiling for the first time the foundation of his teachings. This discourse would come to be known as the setting in motion of the Dharma wheel. Buddha spoke of the 4 Noble Truths core principles that explained the reality of suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path that leads to the end of suffering. First, he explained that suffering, or dukkha, is an inherent part of life. From birth to death, people experience pain, loss, and impermanence. Second, he identified the cause of suffering as desire and attachment. Third, he taught that by eliminating desire, one can end suffering. Finally, Buddha introduced the Eightfold Path, a guide for ethical and mindful living that leads to liberation. This path, comprised of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, became the central practice for his followers. With this first sermon, the Dharma wheel had begun to turn, and Buddha had established the Sangha community of monks and devoted followers committed to the path of enlightenment. This marked the beginning of Buddhism as a spiritual movement, and from this humble gathering in the deer park, Buddha's teachings would soon spread far and wide. Chapter 8. Spreading the Teachings. The Growth of Buddhism. Following his momentous first sermon at the deer park, the Buddha embarked on a transformative journey across northern India, sharing his teachings and spreading the profound insights he had gained through years of searching. As he traveled from town to town, he was met with a variety of people eager to hear about his philosophy and the path to enlightenment. Buddha's teachings emphasized non-attachment, compassion, and mindfulness. He encouraged people to let go of their desires and material possessions, as these were often sources of suffering. Instead, he inspired them to cultivate compassion for all living beings, highlighting the interconnectedness of life. This philosophy resonated deeply with those who felt the weight of suffering in their lives, drawing them to his message. As he moved from villages to cities, Buddha welcomed followers from all walks of life, kings and beggars, scholars and farmers. His teachings transcended social boundaries, emphasizing that anyone, regardless of their status, could attain enlightenment. He often spoke in simple terms, using parables and analogies that made complex ideas accessible to everyone. This inclusivity fostered a diverse community of practitioners who were eager to learn and grow. Buddha established various monastic communities along his travels, where disciples could live according to his teachings, meditate, and support one another on their paths. These monasteries became centers of learning, where the teachings of the Buddha could be preserved and disseminated. As the Buddha continued to share his wisdom, his influence grew exponentially. His message of peace, mindfulness, and compassion began to ripple throughout the region, laying the foundation for what would become one of the world's major religions. The seeds of Buddhism were sown in the hearts of countless individuals, setting in motion a movement that would endure for centuries to come. Chapter 9. The Buddha's Later Years. As the years went by, the Buddha continued his tireless mission of spreading his teachings throughout northern India. His profound insights into the nature of existence, especially his lessons on impermanence and suffering, remained at the forefront of his message. He emphasized that everything in life is transient, teaching his followers that attachment to material possessions, relationships, or even life itself can lead to suffering. This central theme became a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy and guided countless individuals toward a deeper understanding of their own experiences. During this period, the Buddha engaged with a diverse array of people, including kings, warriors, and commoners. His teachings resonated with many, regardless of their social standing. Kings sought his wisdom in matters of governance, while warriors found solace in his messages of peace and nonviolence. The Buddha's ability to connect with people from all walks of life reinforced the notion that enlightenment is accessible to everyone, transcending societal barriers. In response to the growing number of followers, the Buddha began to establish monastic rules to ensure the integrity and discipline of the Sangha, the community of monks and practitioners. These rules provided a framework for ethical conduct, meditation practices, and communal living, fostering an environment conducive to spiritual growth. As a result, the Sangha expanded significantly, with monks and lay people working together to embody the teachings of the Buddha. Buddha's later years were marked by a commitment to teaching and nurturing the growing community. He traveled extensively, offering guidance and support to his disciples, encouraging them to embody the principles of compassion, wisdom, and mindfulness in their daily lives. His influence continued to ripple through the fabric of society, shaping the spiritual landscape of ancient India and planting the seeds for future generations to explore the path he had illuminated. Chapter 10. The Mahaparinirvana, the Passing of Buddha. As the Buddha approached the end of his earthly journey, he gathered his disciples for one final series of teachings. In these moments, he emphasized the importance of personal responsibility in seeking enlightenment. He encouraged his followers to rely on their own insights and experiences, reiterating the core tenet that each individual holds the power to discover the truth within themselves. The atmosphere was thick with emotion, yet there was a profound sense of peace as he imparted his last words of wisdom. At the age of 80, the Buddha's life came to a close in the serene town of Kushinagar. Surrounded by his closest disciples, he entered a deep state of meditation, marking the moment of his passing. As he took his last breath, he attained Mahaparinirvana, a state of ultimate liberation that transcends the cycle of birth and death. This moment signified not just the end of his physical existence, but the culmination of a life dedicated to the pursuit of truth and compassion. The significance of the Buddha's passing resonated deeply within the hearts of his followers. His death was not seen as a tragic loss, but rather as a vital transition into a state of profound peace. His teachings continued to thrive in the minds and practices of those he had inspired. The Buddha's legacy, rooted in principles of non-attachment, mindfulness, and compassion, would live on, influencing countless generations. In the wake of his passing, his disciples were left with the immense task of carrying forward his teachings. They formed the foundation of what would become the Buddhist tradition, ensuring that the Buddha's message would endure. His life and teachings became a beacon of hope and guidance for those seeking to understand the nature of suffering and the path to enlightenment. Chapter 11. The Impact of Buddha's Teachings on the World. Following the Buddha's passing, his teachings began to resonate beyond the borders of India, embarking on a journey that would span centuries and continents. The early disciples, dedicated to preserving and disseminating his messages, traveled across Asia, sharing the principles of Buddhism with diverse cultures. From the sacred sites in India to the lands of Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and eventually China, Japan, and beyond, the teachings of the Buddha adapted to various contexts, taking root in different philosophical and spiritual landscapes. As Buddhism spread, it began to influence a multitude of aspects within society. His teachings on compassion, non-attachment, and the nature of suffering found resonance not only in spiritual practices, but also in ethical and philosophical discourse. Buddhist thought permeated art, literature, and governance, shaping societal values and encouraging peaceful coexistence. The emphasis on the impermanence of life prompted a deeper reflection on existence, prompting societies to foster compassion and understanding among their members. Moreover, the impact of Buddhism transcended geographical boundaries. In the modern world, practices like meditation and mindfulness have gained significant recognition and popularity. Originally rooted in Buddhist philosophy, these practices are now embraced globally as tools for mental health, stress relief, and personal growth. The secular adaptation of these teachings highlights their universal appeal, attracting individuals from various backgrounds who seek inner peace and clarity amidst the chaos of contemporary life. The legacy of the Buddha's teachings continues to flourish, as millions find solace and guidance in his wisdom. From monks in serene monasteries to practitioners in bustling urban centers, the essence of Buddhism has woven itself into the fabric of modern society, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and compassion. The global impact of these teachings remains profound, illuminating paths of understanding and harmony for those on the journey of self-discovery and enlightenment. Final reflections. The enduring legacy of the Buddha. As we conclude our exploration of the life and teachings of the Buddha, it becomes clear that his journey from a sheltered prince to an enlightened teacher is not just a tale of personal transformation, but a universal narrative that continues to inspire millions around the globe. Siddhartha Gautama's quest for understanding and liberation resonates deeply with the human experience, illustrating the profound struggles and aspirations shared by all. His story is a testament to the potential for inner change and spiritual awakening, encouraging individuals to seek truth and enlightenment, regardless of their circumstances. The Buddha's teachings, rooted in the recognition of suffering and the pursuit of compassion, offer timeless wisdom that remains relevant in our modern world. In an age marked by rapid change, stress, and disconnection, the principles of mindfulness and compassion serve as guiding lights. His insights on impermanence remind us to cherish each moment and embrace the transient nature of life. This perspective encourages us to cultivate gratitude and appreciation for the present, fostering resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Moreover, the Buddha's emphasis on compassion urges us to connect with others, transcending boundaries of culture, belief, and background. In a world often fraught with division, his message encourages us to foster empathy and understanding. The call to act with kindness resonates across different contexts, reminding us that the simplest acts of compassion can create ripples of positive change. As we reflect on the enduring legacy of the Buddha, it becomes evident that his teachings are not confined to the walls of monasteries or the pages of ancient texts. They are alive in the hearts and minds of those who seek a more peaceful and fulfilling existence. From meditation practices that promote mental clarity to community initiatives grounded in compassion, the essence of Buddhism continues to shape lives and communities, inspiring a collective movement toward understanding and harmony. In the end, the journey of Siddhartha Gautama serves as a reminder that the path to enlightenment is a journey shared by all, encouraging us to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom, peace, and compassion. The Buddha's legacy endures, inviting each of us to embark on our own journeys of self-discovery, understanding, and ultimately, enlightenment. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Your support helps the channel grow and brings more content your way.